Hello, everybody. We're back again. It's March 19th. I almost said 18th. Today's March 19th. It's Friday, and I know we're doing nonsense. Was government the last? Government.
That's it.
Government.
You nailed it.
Kind of.
Hashtag
Sort
nailed
of.
it.
Yeah.
And yes, we're talking about the government, and the first thing we'll talk about is the Biden administration filling up these jobs in his cabinet, and some of the governmental agencies like the FTC. And this one is controversial because of some of the things this young lady has said in the past about big tech companies.
White House reportedly plans to name Amazon foe Lina Khan to FTC. That's a more appropriate name. Bezos is going to be going, God.
There's going to be so many memes about that.
Yeah, so she's pretty young. She had some definitely decidedly anti-big tech stuff that she did as a law student.
And maybe some anti-capitalism stuff. She's maybe an extremist. But it definitely seems like, now this is not the first one. What was the other guy's name? I think it was an Asian guy.
Oh, yeah.
But Biden has really been filling out the roster with these antitrust people. It seems like he's tipping his hand a little bit.
Yeah, she clarified because, ours, I guess, reached out and was like, this seems like you're kind of, anti-capitalistic. And she clarified, and this was at least encouraging, that it's not just, like knee-jerk or freak out, disestablishmentarianism, which was, monopolies are not inherently bad. It's when monopolies use their position to stifle competition and shortchange small business and blah, blah, blah. And definitely we see more of that from some of the big tech companies than some of the other big tech companies. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach that.
Well, it is true. I have to agree with the woman on one thing because she is denouncing the Chicago School of Economics vision of the world, which is insane. And she's saying that all we do is we look at prices. We only look at prices when we talk about antitrust. And look at all this other stuff that Amazon is doing. And what can we say against that?
Yeah.
They're doing it. They're doing all that stuff. So I suppose we'll be hearing a lot about those lawsuits. And while Biden is, filling up his administration to go against technology, it appears that DARPA didn't get the bar memo because they're trying to do something that wouldn't require a backdoor, although it is.
I had a different interpretation of this, but I'll share that in a minute.
It is still, I think, a massive risk.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's like, okay, we're going to seal up the gate, but the ability to get into the property will no longer be just the gate.
DARPA taps Intel to help build the holy grail of encryption. This project will allow encrypted data to be used without ever having to decrypt it. So I think what happened is that a lot of people inside the Defense Department were looking at what was happening with the Justice Department, and they were getting a little sweaty, let's say. Like, this is really bad. We can't build a back door. How are we going to do this? So the idea with this is that even as the data is being computed, it does not have to be decrypted. So if you stop doing the computation at any given point, say I've got a bunch of numbers, I need to add them up, or take a bunch of people's health data and do some kind of transformation to it, I can do the computation, and the data remains encrypted. And then when the data is decrypted, the correct numbers come out. Fancy math makes that possible. It's very, very fancy math. It would probably take an hour to go through all of the fine details there. But building the hardware to do that is not easy.
Well, it would probably take an hour to explain it. It would also take an hour for the computations to take place. It's insanely slow because it's encrypted data being used in real time. That's the thing that they haven't really gotten past yet. They claim they're making some strides, but this doesn't exist yet.
It's hard to take shortcuts for things. It's like, oh, here's a shortcut for computing the cube root of something. It's like you can't do that with encrypted data necessarily.
Plus, we are probably facing a quantum computer type of issue there too. Whereas if you get the data, maybe it's useless to you now, but the state of the art will be moving so fast that just
Maybe
hang
you'll
on
be
to
able to crack it later.
Yeah. So probably not a great solution, but maybe better than the alternative, which is no encryption. we'll see. Here in the U.S., we just got a fancy new plane on our roster of planes, that F-35. It's expensive. I don't know how good it is, but it sure costs a lot. And you got to wonder, what is the lifetime of a plane? And this story perhaps gives us a pretty good indication of what that is. And it's sadly short.
The Air Force is having to reverse engineer parts of its own stealth bomber. 21 years after this last Spirit was delivered, the Air Force is working out how to build the exotic spare parts that are necessary to support it. With some kind of a heat exchanger, the tooling and the company and all of the stuff around the heat exchanger, it's not really known. It's like, we've got this heat exchanger. We need more heat exchangers.
So, I guess they went back to the original supplier. We don't know the details here, but maybe they don't exist or they're just not making that anymore or whatever. So now, if you're a company who reverse engineers, you might be able to get this contract. They got to figure out how to build that heat exchanger and how to mount it in the space provided, starting from scratch, basically.
Yeah.
Or reverse engineering and rebuilding from there.
I like that one of the new deliverables was like full specifications on how you did it.
Yeah.
They really don't have any. Like, that's so strange that it's not saved somewhere.
Well, you know, like you have all these vendors who are building these little parts, and I guess you assume that you're always going to have that. But what if you think of the pandemic put them out of business? How funny would that be?
They're probably out of business a long time ago. Like their contract didn't get renewed because they built too good of a heat exchanger. It's like these will be here forever, and we can always, like the plane crashed and we just salvaged the part. This is the only salvageable part out of the plane crash. And now they're like, oh, we need more.
Here's the critical question: engagement challenge, but for you as well. How many did the warehouse get down to before somebody raised an alarm? Was it zero?
Yeah, almost certainly.
I don't know. Well, those of you who are, disgusted by what's going on in the world and you think, man, we just need to start over somewhere else. I'm afraid that Mars is a long way away. But how about a stepping stone to Mars? Which is kind of what he's going for here, I think.
Elon Musk is creating a city in Texas. It will be called Starbase, and it will be ruled by the Doge. I think he should have called it Starport, not Starbase, but okay, whatever.
He's also not really creating the city. He's just taking over an existing one.
Well, but he is going to, I'm sure, update all the infrastructure and stuff with his billions of dollars. So they were quick to point out, hey, you still have to follow all Texas laws. You don't get to do your own thing here. But they probably will let him incorporate. And I guess it's going to be that kind of company town thing where it's like, yeah, this whole town, we're all about going to space. If you live here, you're all about space.
This is the thing that we reported on a couple of weeks ago where a lot of these big companies actually like the idea of running their own towns just to avoid regulations and getting caught up in like the local laws, like whatever the local laws happen to be.
Here's how many words? It's 5 words. 5 words to strike terror into your heart. You ready? Elon Musk's Homeowners Association.
Oh.
Can we get a
what
commission?
What would the rules be? Like, could you only paint your house black or?
They'll probably change from week to week, right?
Yeah.
You have to follow his tweets.
You can't have any grass. You just have to have Mars dirt.
You have to follow at Musk HOA to live there. And anytime one of those tweets comes out, you have 48 hours to...
Rude, the mailman just walked by.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, that wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, no, there would be no dogs in Elon Musk. Do you think he's a dog or a cat person?
I think he's a dog
Don't
person.
they have a pet?
I don't know.
Does he have a pet? I can't imagine him having a pet.
I think, honestly, in his mind, that kid is basically a pet, right? It's that level of commitment.
That's dark.
Well, Starbase might be a great place to live. One place that I don't think would be a great place to live is China. And I don't think that they care that I think that because they don't want me there. In fact, they're not looking for Americans at all at this point. They want their own thing.
Xi's Gambit. China plans for a world without American technology. Beijing's leader have plotted a path to go it alone, vowing to spend big to fill gaps in innovation and avoid dependencies on the United States and others. This isn't a bad strategy. We should be doing this here in America. Like, we should produce more of our own semiconductors. We should produce more of our own manufactured goods. Because we can't count on, if we can't get it from China, where else are we going to get it from? Well, it turns out China's got better infrastructure than anybody else for that kind of thing.
Well, that's the point I was going to make is, don't you think it'll be way easier for them to leave us than vice versa?
Yeah.
Regarding this, yes.
Well, what else? Regarding what? Did we have an advantage?
Food export.
Yeah, that's probably true. Although, like they
And
have
coal export.
they have a lot of places they could go for food.
Yeah.
Somebody over there is like, they plan to make advanced silicon microchips with their power grid in its current state.
Also, Krista, like, I'm pretty sure if they were in a pinch with the whole food thing, they'd just start eating the Uyghurs.
Yeah. I feel like, China probably doesn't care enough about their people. It's like, if a few thousand starve, they might just let that slide, which is horrible. I think the U.S. might do the same thing, honestly, though.
And then pop them in the nutrient paste hopper.
Ugh.
Yeah, problem solved. The other thing about China is, if you are an American company, more and more, and this is quid pro quo, they are hitting you with a lot of fines and extra rules and stuff like that just because you're an American company. And I think in a lot of ways, they want to see how far they can push you. And thus far with Apple and Google, it's, whatever you want. Add another one to the list.
LinkedIn has paused new signups from China to review the signups that are coming in. I didn't read the Bloomberg version of this article, but my takeaway was, reading between the lines, was there are a lot of really talented people in China that are on LinkedIn looking for jobs that are not in China.
And China's saying that some of your users are not allowed, and you have to be worried about that. So they're trying to figure out how to deal with that. In the meantime, they're not taking new registration.
It's not that He-Sung can get a job in America. It's that he's not allowed to advertise that he's looking for a job.
I don't know if it's that story, but one of the guys in these stories, the first name, I guess it's the family name for them, right, was he. I was cracking up.
Sorry.
Wonder if he's related. This is a great animation.
I love you, He-Sung, right?
Yeah, this is really cool.
Let's just bask in this animation for a minute.
This is what our lives are going to be soon. The Eye of Sauron, just constantly watching.
That was half of the budget of this story.
Yeah, this would have taken some time to do.
So this is one of those times when China is bragging about something that would be terrifying if we saw it was in the U.S. But then we look back at Clearview, and it's like, how different.
We look back at Amazon Ring, and how different is Amazon Ring than this?
And as usual, the answer seems to be, when it comes to how the U.S. is different than China, is that they're just more open with it. They're bragging about it where we try to hide it.
They're bragging about it in a different way. China's Sharp Eyes program aims to surveil 100% of public space. The program turns neighbors into agents of the surveillance state. Now, what the difference between Amazon and China here is that there's no oversight of Amazon.
Now, I'm trying to think, in history, have we ever tried to have citizens spy on each other and rat each other out?
Oh, during the McCarthy era, that was a lot of fun.
But there was another one.
There was several.
There was a big one.
Yeah, there's a couple.
So
it's never really worked out.
They point out that that is exactly what they're looking for. Now, they have some examples already where they've put this in some rural places, and the people couldn't rat each other out fast enough.
I can believe that about rural spaces.
Yeah. One woman, she was like, hey, listen, I'm pretty sure there's a multi-level marketing campaign going on in town. And they were like, oh, where? And because of this grid system, she was just like, oh, E7. Just go to E7. And they did. And guess what? Multi-level marketing in a warehouse.
Now,
this woman's selling Avon.
I'm not condoning this behavior, but I want this thought experiment. This maybe can be one of our engagement challenges. Meth is a little bit of a problem where we are in the United States, probably where you are too. If something like this existed, would you be tempted to use it? Like, there's a really serious meth problem in like grid E9. If that would actually result in that being taken care of and not some sort of dystopian, like we set up something so we could collect the cash from it, but we don't actually correct the problem, I'd probably use it.
I would if there was some other crime going on. But the thing about it is, if you get rid of that meth house, you accomplish nothing. Because the cartel is just going to rotate to somebody new.
A new sector, and it could be yours.
Prohibition will never stop drugs unless you're willing to become the Chinese government. And that's too high a price.
Yeah.
You can have nice things, though, in this kind of, like when you just crack down on society and make sure that everything runs perfectly at the cost of freedom, boy, you get cool technology.
Also, our next story is this week's winner for thumbnail that makes the least sense.
Okay, you're going to have to explain why that is.
Yeah. China debuts train prototype that can hit speeds of 620 kilometers per hour. But if you're like me, you really had a hard time getting through the article because you had to keep referring to the picture. Let me walk you through it. All right. First off, the first guy from the left, he's peeing.
That's what I thought. I was about to say the same thing.
He's peeing on the sign. The second thing is all of the people on the stairs, there's no door there. There's no door. What are they? The door's actually on the other side. The train's going to pull up, but then there's people on the stage.
I can explain all of that.
Okay.
That's not a real train. This is 165 kilometers of test track.
Well, but
these people are just in the picture to be in the picture.
But
what a horrible marketing photo.
Yeah, it's like, how they when they photograph Ocasio-Cortez at the cages, but there's nobody there. It's that kind of thing. It's just a press shot.
The forced perspective on the staircase was also unsettling.
It does have that tilt shift.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a toy. Maybe these people are photoshopped into that.
That guy, totally peeing.
Yeah, there's another one who kind of looks like he's either like, I don't know, trying to do something secretive with his phone or also peeing further down the platform.
I think he's trying to figure out what to do because they told him to just go stand there and do something because it's not real.
There's no way to get on or off the green carpet part of the platform from where those guys are.
You somersault.
Over the
you climb up like a zombie.
Obviously.
Also, do you think it's shaped like that because of cows on the track sometimes?
Yeah, if there's
scoops them up.
If there's any animal that wanders into the track, it's just going to launch them off.
How high do you think you could get a full-grown cow?
Oh, 600 feet easy.
Because this thing's going to be moving. That's how fast does it go? 620 kilometers per hour.
You might just have like a fine pink mist all over the front of it when you hit the cow.
A rich Corinthian leather just drips down to the ground.
As somebody who hit a deer in what was that? I think it was a GMC Jimmy that had it had like one of the winch things on the front. It completely ripped off the winch thing and messed up the hood, and it was bad. It was really bad, and that was at like 45 miles an hour.
I was driving one time, and I was in the right lane, and somebody was in the left lane, and I was passing them on the right because they were driving slow. But at that moment, a fully, like, how the gases, they start to inflate? Like a fully inflated deer. He hit it in a pickup, and just blood and viscera covered my car. And it was already rotten, so like that rotten smell. That was bad. That was tough to clean.
Yeah. I've never hit a deer. I'm thankful that's never happened.
Not only that one, I hit another deer.
We had a hard time collecting insurance on that one because they were like, "There's no way it was that much damage at 45 miles an hour." And I was like, it darted in front of the car and was like, "I'm done living."
Yeah, that's what happened to me. I mean, they get in the middle and they're like, "I regret this decision," but then they don't commit either way. And it's like,
yeah,
poor deer. It's not their fault. Well, one thing about China is that they have these big plans, and even, it seemed like the Biden administration might be friendly to China, but so far, I think they understand the risk of China, like beating us. So, and actually that's what China's claiming too. So what do you do when somebody that used to be your friend, or at least frenemy, is all of a sudden just giving you the cold shoulder?
Pivoting from NASA, Russia partners with China for lunar space station. This article has a lot of really interesting and juicy details. They want to set up a station on the moon that would be like the refueling station that we've described on this program like last year or so. So it's a city on the moon, but there's an industry. Everybody that works there is doing stuff on the moon. But also that would be, a starport or refueling station for other missions happening in our solar system. It's really ambitious, but the two of them could pull it off.
You know who else has the exact same plan? NASA. So there will likely be 2 moon bases, one capitalist and one communist. How crazy is that going to be?
You know what I thought when I was reading this? It was like, is Russia China's Canada?
Nah. They don't have the same kind of relationship.
I mean,
because that would be like us getting in trouble and being like, "Hey, Canada, can we use your military?"
Well, I mean, I don't know.
But and they are big and cold and north.
Northwest-ish.
Russia, speaking of Russia, they are having their own problems with the big tech world. And this one seems to be the misinformation thing, but this is a totally different kind of misinformation than Twitter wants to handle.
Russia says it is slowing down Twitter to protect its citizens from illegal content. So rather than block Twitter, which would immediately have everybody up in arms, they're just making it seem like Twitter's service is awful. You may recall this business strategy from Comcast, using their service to make Netflix seem like it's awful.
But how slow are you going to make text?
Really slow.
I mean, it'd have to be real bad. I think they said it was like 50%, right? But that still seems like plenty of speed for Twitter.
Nah, they'll make it flaky. It's really easy to set rules on the firewall now to be like, make 1 in 1,000 connections drop, and then everything will be clicking fine, and it'll just hang. It's like, what's going on?
And there's also like images and video on Twitter as well. It's not just text.
Well, I guess if you wanted to target the memes, maybe. Do you think a lot of dissidents use memes? Probably do.
Probably do.
He's tired of all Putin's tired of all the bear photoshops.
You don't think he loves that?
I think he would, but I don't really know the guy.
I would.
Secretly, he's just like, hee.
I'd be into it.
But in reality, he's like, death to them.
He laughs, but then he signs a death warrant.
Dmitry, get the polonium.
And it's another week, another EU privacy complaint against the big tech company. You got to have one a week.
French startup lobby to file a privacy complaint against Apple. The crux of the matter here is that even though Apple is not letting advertisers have the new advertiser ID, Apple still has the advertiser ID. So the French startup says, well, if you're protecting this ID from other companies, you still have access to it. You could still do this. You're not giving us the opportunity to opt out completely. Therefore, it runs afoul of French law. And it seems like a really simple argument.
And a compelling one.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you argue against that? I'm sure that they will. They'll use a lot of words.
It's the randomized serial numbers. It's like, oh, now the serial number's randomized. And that doesn't have anything to do with this. They're like, no, we made a change in our whole global supply chain to try to accommodate French law.
I bet you could convince some judges.
Yeah, you totally could.
The EU has approved one big tech acquisition, though, and this one may have some negative consequences for gamers, I'm afraid.
PC gamers. EU approves Microsoft's $7.5 billion Bethesda acquisition. The first question top of mind for everybody is, does this mean there are going to be Xbox Bethesda exclusives? And the answer from Microsoft was basically, what are you going to do about it?
Now, they did say they might give them to everybody who subscribes to the Xbox subscription service.
Eventually.
But, yeah. And these are some, companies that we all like.
It's the Red Dead Redemption 2 model.
Well, my first thing reading that was just rip Elder Scrolls 6.
Well,
they'll do it.
Elder Scrolls 6 is going to have console-itis to the nth degree now.
Yeah. And probably, like the DLC is going to be just ridiculous. And, probably going to be another Cyberpunk type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
You neuter it so you can take it back. Although, are they going to try to support the previous generation of the consoles with those?
Probably not by
games?
the time this thing takes place.
So maybe that'll save us from that. But then the next time the generation comes around, you'll have the same problem.
Yeah.
Sad. In terms of security and when it comes to payments, they are constantly trying to innovate in the world of credit cards to keep them from getting stolen. We have a new one from South Korea.
Samsung and Mastercard are going to pilot biometric payment card in South Korea. So this wouldn't use a PIN or a chip I guess it uses a chip. It wouldn't use a PIN or anything else. It uses your biometric thing.
I think the fingerprint reader takes the place of the
PIN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's powered by the reader device, so it doesn't need any power. It's not a bad idea. I think back to all the times I try to unlock my phone, and I think to myself, I hope it's better than that technology.
Well, it seems like that would also be more of an opportunity for a hacker to hack it if the sensor is built into the phone, or the sensor is built into the card, because you could just have a hacked card that already, no matter what, always says yes, it's your fingerprint.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, you got to think low tech, right? You got to think lowest common denominator. Does it have to be alive? The finger?
Ooh, the
That's a dark reality.
Because there's no pin. There's no chip. That's the only one, right?
In before a story, it's like a woman from Helena is using dead grandmother's finger for 5 years to something.
Yeah, like those welfare stories.
Yeah,
that happens a lot.
Mummified corpse found in pantry or whatever.
Thumbless mummified corpse. Although I got like, how long do you think a thumb would be viable after being severed?
Not
more
that
than
long.
A day.
Yeah.
But remember when they beat the fingerprint sensors on all the Apple devices when they first came out?
Oh,
with
yeah.
those laser printed thumbprints?
That was funny.
There's going to be a lot of investment in that world, I'm sure.
If they can figure out how to make meth out of Drano, I mean, they can figure that out.
Well, speaking of meth, if there's one man who never fails to deliver amazing headlines, and this is not even one of the better ones, it's John McAfee.
Reuters has the article about the antivirus software pioneer. John McAfee has been charged by U.S. authorities with cryptocurrency fraud. So he's facing criminal and civil charges. They're throwing the book at him because he has a lot of followers on Twitter, and he posted a bunch of stuff on Twitter years ago. And yeah, and everybody was like, this seems like a pump and dump scheme. It turns out, yeah, it probably was.
And it wasn't just a pump and dump scheme. He was being paid outside of whatever the pump was to promote those. And the SEC, not a fan of that. Turns out there are rules against that, unless you're Musk.
Then it's fine.
But
a little slap on the wrist.
The thing about it is, he is currently imprisoned in Spain on some charges that he got there. So I'm not sure if he's ever even going to be extradited here. But that's one of those guys where he had a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he couldn't just go enjoy it.
It seems like he did, and that's how he got in this mess.
But
yeah.
But the crypto pump and dumps.
That was, I think, after he fled Belize, which probably had an unexpected hit on his fortune.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. But if he had not gotten caught up with the insane drug, prostitution, murder scene in Belize, I think he would have been okay.
Listen, he just needed to make sure that he could still feel.
Yeah.
So it was either take up gardening or,
Once again, I will reference back to the meth that you were talking about. Might have had something to do with that. If you are a programmer, especially if you're just learning programming, and maybe not all programming languages, some are worse than the others, but you're going to learn painfully at some point that 0 is not just an integer. It's a Boolean. And if you get that wrong, you're going to have a real tough time figuring out why your code is broken. Just like someone at iCloud.
iCloud allegedly locked out a user over her last name. Her last name was true. And iCloud was like, your last name can't be true. It was like, this statement is false. It's like,
so she got this error. And if you've listened to any of the Apple stories in the last decade, you know where this is going. She couldn't get anybody on the phone to fix it.
Yeah.
So that is unfortunate. Now, Apple has, talked about this, and they're like, oh, if she had capitalized her name like you do your last name, this would have never happened.
It's obviously, you're holding it wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. Right. Imagine how the Musk kid is going to suffer from this kind of thing.
I wonder if it would work if her last name were false.
Well, it's easy to test, right?
Didn't we get an iPhone today? Did we ever figure out who that was supposed to go to?
Yes. Yeah, we figured it out.
Okay.
Now, you might be thinking, hey, this was last week's story. We've moved on from this. But no, last week's story is that certain books were not going to be printed anymore. This, and that led to people flooding eBay with them for up to like $1,000 for these Dr. Seuss books. And people were making a lot of money, and eBay got to look at that, and they were like, oh, this is not going to be good for our PR.
eBay to remove the Dr. Seuss books from sale. over offensive imagery. This just seems like a knee-jerk reaction from eBay because you'd still buy a lot more offensive things on eBay. Would you like a pewter blackface statue? No problem. eBay will be more than happy to sell you that. But this, not so much.
Could I get a copy of Mein Kampf for the Turner Diaries on eBay? I bet I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've a history of orgies that we've got back there, also on eBay. Although it's dry, it's drier than 3-day-old toast.
Well, if I have a 5-year-old and I have to choose between green eggs and ham and the history of orgies, clearly I'm going with the history of orgies.
I mean, I don't know. It's really, I was like really excited because it was going to be salacious, and it's like, oh, it's got Marquis de Sade and blah. It is the driest book ever. It is
just a textbook.
Somehow they took that topic and made it excruciatingly boring.
I was just about to say that same thing, but like as the jacket blurb.
Yeah, it's not great.
Krista, you are about to embark into the world of lawn maintenance.
Yes.
And it is coming. It is an unrelenting glacier of suffering that is on your doorstep, let me tell you.
It is.
And you're not ready for it.
No, we don't have a mower yet. And we're not like probably emotionally prepared for it either.
No, but you do have one advantage, and that is you don't live in Oakland, California.
It's true. Oakland bans some types of lawn and garden equipment.
The internal combustion kind, which seems anti-American.
I
want a gas-fired toothbrush.
If you live around Oakland, oh my God, are you going to get some deals on a zero turn? You got a freight company? Ship them this way. Krista needs one.
I thought they were banning sales. You could still use them.
It banned the use of leaf blowers, trimmers, and other lawn equipment that rely on combustion engines.
You have until April. Wow. Yeah.
That seems unconstitutional.
It's crazy. Now, in the city of Oakland, is that city limits, you think? Because I can see like if the suburbs could still use them. But what if you're a groundskeeping company?
You're screwed.
What about the Oakland courthouse? Does the Oakland courthouse have grass?
They're going to have to use those terrible electric mowers.
Engagement challenge. If you live in Oakland, how much of the publicly owned land is grassed? Because that's going to be miserable for those people.
Why do people, like, this is going to sound ignorant, why do people use leaf blowers? Like, I always just raked leaves growing up.
Well, see, like, imagine you trim your hedges, Krista. Do you have any idea how much, like, just...
That's prime composting material.
How do you pick it up?
You rake it into your pile.
I'm going to rake it out of my lava rocks.
Listen
to
just
this.
Don't have lava.
Such a noob. She doesn't know. Also, it's a lot faster than raking.
Yeah. The speed thing I don't have an argument for, but it's prime composting material.
Depends on how powerful your leaf blower is. And I got to say, the electric ones just don't hold up to
the same way.
Oh, yeah.
The ones that you plug in that are electric are close, but it's still not great.
Yeah. Electric stuff is... I can't get through my whole property with one battery on the almost said it. On the crappy Craftsman trimmer. Now, I think the big thing that I took away from this story is that the website, which I'd not heard of before, Flirt for Free, is anything but free.
It's not free.
In fact, it's so not free that one man could do this on that site.
Mount Pleasant Township church treasurer accused of stealing $150,000, and they spent those funds on the aforementioned site, Flirt for Free.
It is, it makes sense that this is a story about a church, because this was biblical level simping.
Nice.
When the state police pulled him aside, and they were like, "Okay, where's the money?" He admitted he donated it. Flirt for Free, I get, is kind of like an OnlyFans type of deal. That's the impression I get. Did you get it?
Yeah. I didn't.
And so you interface with individuals and you donate to them. That's where the money's going, because the site, I guess, is free.
I wonder if they're gonna go after the recipient for receiving stolen goods.
I don't think so, because how would they know?
Well, there's no way for her to know where that money came from.
That never stopped receiving stolen funds charges from being a thing.
Is it?
That'd be shitty.
Goods, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't think money, because money is completely fungible. I don't think they, maybe not. I don't know.
We'll see.
But yeah, so he apparently got started when he became the treasurer. The church didn't have any money, and he actually used some of his own money to pay the bills. Now that's his story; it might not be true. And so he got used to that, like pay it out of my account and then move all the church money into my account. But then the church started doing better, and his addiction got in the way.
This is why you keep all that stuff separate.
That's why you need to be on OnlyFans, Krista. Jesus, you're leaving so much money on the table.
Oh, no thanks.
Store.level1text.com.
Come, yeah, that's about as far as you're gonna get.
You cannot get Krista nudes on store.level1text.com.
No, sorry.
But you can get a cool plague mask.
Yeah, you can get some cool T-shirts. If you're a patron for 3 months at a certain tier, you can get a drawing done by me.
But she will not do those kinds of drawings because
I won't do. Sorry, no furry. On. Sorry, guys.
We've only had to turn down 4 of those.
Well, actually, I don't. You know what? I've never had anyone ask for anything weird like that, so that's been a pleasant experience.
That's because it's filtered out before it gets to you.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think we've ever gotten one. I've never had someone in the messages be like, "Oh, I want this," and I've been like, "Oh no."
You will now.
Yeah, someone's gonna be like, "All right, hit me with that 3 months," and then I'm gonna hit her with a weird request.
Well, Krista, here's an excellent question. In your household, who controls the Xbox password?
My husband, because I don't play console.
Are you okay? Oh, that's a good response from that, isn't it?
Yeah.
What about, we talked about if you ever were to have kids, which honestly I think you're souring on because you're enjoying your lifestyle right now.
I am enjoying my lifestyle right now, but I also really like children, so I don't know. I'm still on the fence.
I think you're on my side of the fence.
Not yet.
Maybe not completely.
Not yet.
But if you did have a kid, would you password their console?
I feel like it depends on the age of the kid and like the particular circumstances. If they were okay at like self-modulating, I probably wouldn't.
I don't think they gave the age of the kid because you're not allowed to, right? As long as they're underage, you can't give details.
Yeah.
But this kid was very upset that his mom did that same thing.
Seriously? Oakville teenager calls 911 because mom changed his Xbox password.
That's not an appropriate use of 911.
A male teenager. Okay, so we know he is a teenager.
Right. You should have known better.
Oh, yeah, if you're a teen, you're old enough to understand 911 is not for frivolous things. Though, one of my cousins a couple years ago, also a teenager, she dropped her phone down a storm drain and had her friend call 911. And they're like, we don't do this. Just get a broom and get it. You're fine.
Did she get it?
She got it out. Yeah, she was terrified her mom was gonna like beat her ass, I guess. But I was like, no, your mom will help you get it out. Like, why would you call 911? But maybe that's just the way it is with Gen Z now.
Well, I think a lot of people, Krista, will just panic.
Yeah, I think she just kind of blind panicked. But I don't understand the kid though. Like,
I know someone who ran away from a cheese counter.
Listen. I didn't call 911 for that panic. That's just me being socially messed up.
How great would it be if you called 911? It's like, he's talking to me. I don't want to
He's talking to me. Make him stop.
I think I'm having a heart attack. Why do you think you're having a heart attack, ma'am? Because I had to talk to a guy at a cheese counter.
I'm going to go ahead and preempt this one. Nationalfile.com. Never heard of it before. It's definitely a biased news source. But this is a real story because I saw it in some other places.
Judge passes a motion banning comparisons of George Floyd's death to Jesus Christ's crucifixion at the Chauvin trial that's going on currently. Any expert is not allowed to liken the death to the crucifixion. And the judge did say, why am I passing this motion? And it was because one of the witnesses was already doing that.
I do think it explains a lot about how much Jesus was able to tolerate on the road to and then up to the crucifixion. What if he was twisted on fentanyl?
Wow, that's dark.
we love animal stories, and my favorite part about this animal story is that they refer to this as the smiley face.
Doesn't look very smiley to me.
It looks like it is suffering.
Kill me.
It looks like a sloth that is suffering more than any sloth has ever suffered in the history of sloths.
Breeder creates a snake covered in smiley face emojis, quote unquote. Maybe if the snake were bent the other way. The snake sold for $6,000. That seems like a lot.
What do you do
We're in
with
the
it?
wrong business.
Do you try to use it for marketing, or do you just love it, or?
Like, this is like the same people who buy like designer dogs and stuff, right? Like,
Yeah, but you can take your designer dog out and carry it around in your purse. Take it to the store or whatever.
maybe you can. I don't. With dogs, you can do like dog shows. Are there snake shows?
Oh,
Like, look
please
how
let
good
there
my
be
snake is.
shows.
I actually, hang on.
How great would that be? I doubt it.
Oh, there's a YouTube video. World's Longest Snakes, episode 424.
Oh wow! There's been 423 longest snakes already.
That's what it says.
It's got to be somebody like us that would just troll by posting just the one
Subscribe
video.
to Animal Bites TV. There are reptile expos and reptile shows, so I guess maybe you could show your snake.
But they're trying to sell them, right? They're not like giving prizes out for the best snake.
I don't know.
How great would it be if they had one of those, like what's the name of the dog show? Westminster, where they're like running them through the, put them up and down the ramps through the.
You put like a little bug in front of them, see how quick time their response.
Oh, the frog swallow. He had a strong frog swallow last year. Can he unhinge his jaws faster this year?
Find us on Facebook. Okay, I'm gonna look at one of these. All Maryland Reptile Show. $8 per person. 5 and under free.
Maryland's a cold place to be keeping reptiles.
9,000 people like this. This is like the first one I clicked on. They're very responsive to messages. I'm just looking at their Facebook page. There's no information about like events on here.
It's a tight-knit community. The snake shows.
Weird.
Well, this story is it reinforces a lot of the stuff that we constantly hammer home or try to hammer home when we talk about marketing. And that is, going back to the Facebook thing.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, marketing is just human manipulation. And it's mostly fraudulent because that doesn't always work, but they will do anything to get the numbers to come out the other end to look like it does work, because that's how they get paid. And they've learned from a very old profession how to do that.
The BBC has this amazing article. Magicians' tactics have been found in both politics and marketing. So it's like, pick a card, any card, and then they're able to tell you what your card was. Not because they knew that the card that you picked, but because you had the illusion of choice. Yeah, that's a big factor in marketing as well. You can choose the good product, but you're not really. It's a forced choice.
They talk about how, when you're doing magic, you don't think about it, but as long as those cards are in the magician's hand, that person has control over them. The same as big tech has control as long as you're on their platform. And they also talk about some other stuff like the illusion of choice, like our presidential election.
All of our elections, really.
And misdirection, where this is a crazy one.
How can this possibly be an antitrust investigation?
Well, it's worse than that because, think about, the parallels in politics are almost infinite. It's where they give you a series of choices that don't really change anything about the country. Gay marriage, abortion, gun control. We talk about all this stuff that's not really changing how we live from day to day because it doesn't matter, because the real choices they would never discuss with you. So, great read. It's obvious, but
if you learn how the magician's tricks work, you can more readily spot them next time. Sometimes,
and then you can describe that to others who will just become angry at you.
Or conversely, like,
yeah,
if Darren Brown wanted me to help him become the president of the United States, even though he's not an American citizen, as far as I know, I'd be like, all right, it sounds good, because he's just such an incredible magician. So it's like, if you have a politician that's that talented, it's going to be like world ending.
But I don't think we want that.
I'm just saying, he's so good. It's like, how did you do that?
I think if we could find the opposite of that, and that is a guy who's too dumb to lie, that's the president. And finally, Krista, I feel like Wendell and I are too old. I mean, I remember Space Jam, obviously, and the whole world was into basketball at that point because it was the Chicago Bulls.
We're not too old. The Space Jam website was one of the first movies to have like a website, and it's still
It's
around.
still up. Yeah.
But we were old enough to be more interested in the website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Krista is prime age
Yeah.
for a Space Jam baby. How hyped are you for Space Jam 2, Krista?
I'm not that hyped for it, but I will say I really loved that movie growing up. It was definitely like the peak of my childhood. And to tell you how like popular Space Jam 1 was, I did a like dance routine in my jazz dance class
The
Space Jam soundtrack.
That's horrifying.
Is there video of that? Please let there be video of that.
I don't know. We used to do like dance routines for like the local nursing home. My mom might have a video of it somewhere. It's probably very embarrassing
even
because
more
I'm not a
depressing.
good dancer.
Can you, in 2 sentences, summarize what your Space Jam dance was?
I don't remember it that well. Like, I was too much of a free spirit for ballet and jazz dance class because I always was doing the wrong move. I remember
we call that
doing
ADD
a lot of
now,
this.
Krista.
Is jazz dancing that structured?
Whatever we were doing was. I don't know enough about it. I only did dance for like a year because I read a book about ballet and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then I did it and I was like, wow, I'm really bad at this.
Did you ever have to do the things that are like brutal to your feet and you're like stand on your toes?
I never
and
did.
stuff?
I never did point dancing. That takes years to get to.
Oh, okay. Well, then, it sounds like you have a decent level of hype for Space Jam 2, but some of your favorites might not be returning.
Pepe Le Pew absence from Space Jam 2 prompts cancel culture debate.
Well, I mean, if you look at some of the old Pepe Le Pew cartoons, it makes sense. I mean,
Well, Dave Chappelle has that classic stand-up bit. Pepe was a rapist. He
Yeah.
was. It's not okay what Pepe did.
you can look up that bit and then thank us later because it's that good.
But it turns out this is going to be one of those like, I guess the first one was too, right? Like live action plus animation
Yeah.
combination things. And they had a Pepe scene with a real woman, I think.
Oh,
And it's been filmed. And because this was supposed to come out, like the pandemic. And they were willing to put that out there up until a certain point recently. And they were like, okay, no. The world has changed too much. Pepe must be removed.
Well, couldn't they, like, if they wanted to keep Pepe Le Pew, but also, like, make him a little more palatable, couldn't they make him more like a harmless simp and then one of the other characters has to explain to him about, like, hey, maybe you should be nicer and, like, just accept no is no. But I guess that'd probably be too much screen time spent on a small character.
I think the implication there then would become that like French people don't understand that because that was part of it was like, oh, his behavior is a result of just him being French.
They definitely don't.
Yeah.
Here's what I would do to fix it, and I guarantee you it would work. And it's cynical, but I guarantee you it would work, and it would create a whole new level of hype for Space Jam 2. I would make Pepe come on to men.
That would work, and that's awful.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And it would get so many headlines.
There was a movie that did that. There was a movie that had that was in the late 90s, and it had a very over the top. It would be offensive now. In fact, the way that it was acted.
Almost everything that happened in the 90s is offensive now.
But it was exactly that, and it was like the only way that they could have gotten away with this character is if, yeah.
The other big news about the Space Jam 2 movie was Lola Bunny.
Now,
That is. I saw that, and I went down that rabbit hole.
Did she exist before Space Jam?
I don't think so. I remember her big role being Space Jam 1.
Because in the Bugs Bunny cartoons, the female was Bugs. He just cross-dressed.
There's nothing wrong with that.
She was added, and she was really good at basketball. I remember that.
As a kid, I never thought anything weird about Bugs Bunny cross-dressing.
Yeah.
Just what he did.
Yeah.
We were fine with it. We had to be taught that later.
No, that's not fine. In a deeply disturbing and like you should worry about it and should lie awake at night kind of way. And it's like, no, it was fine. Bugs Bunny did it.
Because I don't want to do it. Why would those? But what if you do one day? All right. Well.
Anyway.
How about? I think Krista. Obviously, you got to give us the French goodbye today.
Oh, French?
For Pepe.
Oh, okay.
How about you give us the goodbye as if you were the cat?
Oh, well, wait, am I supposed to be French in that case?
Oh,
I thought
the cat wasn't French.
the cat was never French. Yeah.
I don't even know anymore. Just freestyle.
Okay. Bonsoir. Is that how you say it?
Or
Au revoir.
Au revoir. What's bonsoir? What did I just say?
Bonjour is
Good night.
hello.
Oh, I said, okay, good night. Well, maybe if you're watching this at night. Au revoir. Bye.
You said that in Eastern Kentucky.
Wendell's the one who speaks French. He should be giving the French send-off.
No, let's just not even.
Yeah.
I remember, though, the only time that has come in handy was Jim Carrey's The Mask, because, he was doing the Pepe Le Pew thing to the woman actor, and, he said, je t'adore, which is, I love you, and then he looks up and he says, je te window, and it's like, that's really funny.
You understood that joke because you took French.
I understood that joke as well. I didn't think it was funny. Then or now.
Anyway, we'll see you guys next week. Bye. Bonsoir. Au revoir.